Papatu nuku e takoto nei, rangi nui e tu iho nei, tīnā korua, e nā mate, haere, haere, haere atu rā, e nā mana whenua, mihi mai, mihi mai, mihi mai. E aku rangatira, tīnā tātou katoa. Anō te arua ahau, he ahorangi tūhono ki te wānanga aronui o Tamaki Makaurau, ko Mandy Yates ahau. Nau mai, hara mai, ki tēnei hui mua Whakaora, e rere atu nei ngā mihi, kia koutou. Kia ora mai, I'm Amanda, I'm a co-curator of Whakaora and associate professor here at AUT's School of Future Environments. So yeah, thanks for being with us this afternoon's session. We're going to be workshopping actions for urban thriving. And we'll be working with a Moriora, or Living Systems Urban Wellbeing Compass. That's basically a circular to-do list for actions for urban system change. The compass is one outcome from a large urban wellbeing research program that I'm leading that's funded by the Building Better Homes, Towns and Cities National Science Challenge. So to start with, I'll introduce the context for this compass action tool, and then we'll take a little time to korero at your table, and we'll end up doing a table-based build your own compass session where you collectively discuss and identify key actions for urban thriving. But why the focus on Moriora, or holistic wellbeing? Well, as we've discussed today, we know we're in a climate emergency. We're also in a wider ecological emergency with some 75% of the planet's surface and ecosystems degraded. We're in a sixth mass extinction event caused this time by humans, particularly by a globalised, linear, extractive culture. And there are, as we know, wide-ranging social and cultural crises and inequities that need to be addressed. So what's at stake? The recent sixth assessment report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change finishes by saying what's at stake is a livable future for all. For Māori, what's at stake is a livable future for our whānau, our kids, our mokopuna, and also our ancient ancestral whanaunga, Papatūānuku earth, Ranginui sky, na awa, na ika, na manu, the connected web of life that we know as Māori, we whakapapatū. So we know we can't do business as usual. We know that our cities need to change. What would a Māori-centred, thriving living city look like? And what is Māori? In the National Science Challenge research, we've found Summation Jury's work on Moriora to be really helpful. Jury talks about how Māori is a vital life force and a connective condition composed of interacting relationships that tie together te taio, this living planet linking rocks, rivers, earth, sea, sky, birds, people, and cities, all together as a living system. In the West's Cartesian thinking of life, life is thought in opposition to death as a binary, linear and static. In Indigenous thinking generally, and for Māori, life is thought in relation to wellness and vitality. And it isn't just a condition of the biotic, as in the West, but it's a wider and circular or spiralar thinking of life as geological, hydrological, atmospheric, as rocks, rivers, skies, seas, all vitally alive with Māori. And so when we say kia ora, we're saying be well, be vital. And similarly, when we say Moriora, we're calling for vitality and connected well-being. And so in our National Science Research Program, following from Jury and also academic Huhana Smith, we understand Moriora as the vitality and connectivity of living systems, as a positive state of holistic social, cultural and ecological well-being. So we know our cities need to change. How can we shift our urban systems? How can we create Māori or living systems-led cities? So how can we activate city change? One of the things that we know can help to activate change is tools that help to scaffold transformative processes and build communities of change. And so things like open access, co-creation tools, tools that build community can really help to achieve that kind of flip to system change. And so in our urban wellbeing research, we've developed a Whakaora, or a living systems compass, that's that circular to-do list for regenerative change. And it's a tiriti partnership tool that brings Māori and settler cultures together around pragmatic actions for holistic wellbeing. It's a Ngā Tohu Whakaora compass when it's held by mana whenua, by iwi, by Māori communities, including in partnership with non-Māori, or it's a living systems compass when it's held by non-Māori. And so it's a culture change tool, really, that puts a navigator that puts Whakaora at the centre of our thinking about communities and cities. The compass scaffolds those key, urgently necessary transitions that we know need to happen. It's the 3 E's. We need to transition our ecology, our energy and our economies. So we need to address the current ecological emergency by ecosystem regeneration. We need to transition from a linear take, make, waste economy to a circular bioeconomy. We need to do the transition to zero carbon, local energy and transport. And we need to develop a culture of regenerative and living buildings and infrastructures. And fundamentally, we need to be building connected communities, communities that are connected socially, culturally, and importantly, ecologically, because we know that that really brings well-being. So there's 6 key urban action areas, and they map against those key urban transitions. So there's a selection of actions in the tool that you can work with when you're building your own compass, or you can add your own actions that you're already doing. So we've got the 6 key action areas in ecological regeneration, in the circular bioeconomy, in energy, and accessible cities, which is about really moving from transport to access, living buildings and connected communities. So when a community's building its own compass, they can add their own actions that they're already doing, or they can pick and mix from the action checklists, such as this checklist for ecological regeneration. You've all got some checklists on your tables, so I won't go into too much detail on these. But these are things that we know to be successful. There's a lot of evidence around these actions, and putting them together helps to scaffold a thinking for holistic change. There's checklists for circular bioeconomy, for zero carbon energy, checklists for access and active mobility, so starting to think of cities in terms of access and active mobility rather than simply about transport and vehicles. And then a checklist for connected communities, so thinking about the various ways that we can bring together people within cultural formats and ecological spaces to build connection, to make safe and accessible and well-being-led communities. And importantly, a checklist for regenerative buildings, so really starting to rethink how we think about buildings as living systems in and of themselves that are able to regenerate their local environments, not take, but rather give back. So our cities are filled with multiple communities and cultures which all now at this time need to orient towards holistic well-being. And so the compass really aims to bring together diverse and sometimes disparate communities around simple, pragmatic actions for Whakaora, or thriving communities. And we had Te Taru speaking a little earlier about the work that Te Tau or Te Arawa has been doing, firstly to pull together a Te Arawa 2050 Māori-led vision, and then to land the housing strategy of that vision in a housing compass, which they've worked with us to do. More recently, we've just finished doing some workshops with Te Tatau o Te Arawa and the Rotorua Lakes Council. And so together we've built the first version of a city compass, which helps to bring the compass community together, pulling together Te Arawa, the council, and now we're starting to pull in other iwi partners and also speaking to the regional council in August. It's very much a work in progress. It takes time. But what is important, I think, in the building of that community is that everyone's agreeing to focus the community, the city, towards holistic well-being. And as we know after what we've talked about today, that is transformative in and of itself.